Okay, I'm going to begin the event now. So hope everyone's settled in. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are. Thanks for joining us today for the Efficiency for Access Design Challenge Career Conversations. My name's Sean. I'm joined today by my colleagues Jackie Garcia and Luke Smith. Today is about providing guidance and advice to our student participants about the prospective careers in the sector. So I encourage you all to participate as much as possible in order to make the most out of this time with our industry experts. They've all very successfully started careers in the sector at one time or another. Here we go. So this is today's agenda. First, we'll be having a 20-minute period where our panelists will share their experience in the sector so far in an effort to provide you with true success stories. I'll introduce you to them in a moment. We'll then follow this session with a Q&A period during which you can ask any of our panelists or experts about their experience and advice. This period, as opposed to the following breakout room session here, is an open plenary where you can ask all the experts with their diverse backgrounds about their experience. You can opt to ask questions either over call or in the chat, and either to the room as a whole or to a specific person. Panelists and industry partners, please feel free to openly discuss these topics, and back and forth is perfectly acceptable and encouraged. Then we have a breakout room session. Those of you who let us know your preferred area of interest, you'll be paired with one of our illustrious partners with expertise in that area. Those who will not will be randomly allocated. Sorry, further allocations can be taken at the time just to reduce the amount of manic things going on at the time. So these conversations will run for 30 minutes, and we encourage you to spend this time asking everything you can from these experts. They're structured to be more intimate conversations to allow for in-depth discussion about how you can personally achieve your goals. And then finally, a reporting back session will follow where we'll hear from each of you in each room, some key takeaways from those conversations. And what you share is completely up to you. So before we proceed, there are a few housekeeping rules we'd like to lay out. The panel discussion portion of the event will be recorded. So if you do not wish to be recorded, please do not turn on your video during this time. Please everyone mute your mic when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise. And when you are speaking, if you're comfortable to do so, we encourage you to put on your camera. If you have not already done so, please put your name down underneath your video. You see those 3 dots on your video. If you click that, you can click rename. That'll help us accurately allocate you to the breakout rooms and to help us get to know each other with what little time we have. I think most people have their names in from the registration. Finally, we hope all of you utilize this opportunity to garner as much as possible from the wealth of experience we have at this event today. Moving on to the event itself, we'll have the panel discussion, and I'd just like to introduce our panelists first. First, we'll hear from Fredrick Amariati, a previous Efficiency for Access Design Challenge participant who last year was in the same position you are today. He's gone on to become a researcher with Strathmore University, where he studied and works with GIZ on implementing a global climate fund project promoting climate-friendly cooking in Kenya and Senegal. His team last year pitched a solar-powered container that could enable several services within rural settings. Their project, titled Kijiji, won a bronze award in the challenge last year. Then we'll hear from Nidhi Pant, co-founder of S4S Technologies, a near-farm gate food processing platform that converts farm losses into value-added products for the food and beverage industry by training landless women farmers to become micro-entrepreneurs. Nidhi has been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia and was a Unilever Young Entrepreneur 2019 awardee, among several other awards. Finally, Mohammed Shehryar, founder and managing director of Harness Energy. His company aims to provide reliable and affordable solar products, solar lanterns, home systems, and efficient appliances to low-income Pakistanis. Harness Energy works with multiple Verisol certified manufacturers and microfinance institutions to effectively deliver these products at the last mile. Shehryar has an MA in economics from Duke University on the Fulbright Scholarship and is an Acumen Fellow. Apart from a passion for renewables, he is interested in cricket and astronomy. So without further ado, please take it away, Fredrick.
Thanks, John. Thanks for that introduction. Just to confirm again, can we all hear me clearly?
Yep.
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you are on the globe. We hope you're doing well. I'm happy to be a part of this. I'm also happy to be here just to talk to someone here, as you move on to the next phase of your life, ideally your career. And I think the biggest thing is for me just to talk to someone about how I started in my career, where I am, probably share one or two lessons from where I've come from until where I am. And I hope someone will be happy at the end of the day. Maybe a quick one, some bit about myself. I know Sean introduced me earlier, and like he mentioned, my name is Fredrick Amariati. I currently am a researcher with Strathmore University in Kenya. We're also working with GIZ on a clean cooking component, but more for a green climate fund project. We're promoting friendly cooking in Kenya and Senegal. I hold varied training. I have both engineering, I have economics, so I'm a bit broad in this area and in this sector. A brief on how I started. For everybody's information, I spent 5 years working in the oil and gas sector in Kenya. And after which I moved on to undertake my master's in energy economics and policy from London. And I'm glad I did that because it's opened up new windows for me. When I finished my MSc, I had options of going back to the oil and gas sector. But I think a couple of things happened. I learned of different programs or the initiatives that could end up leading with the off-grid sector. And one of them was the Open Africa Power Program. It's a partnership between Enel Green Power and a number of universities around Africa. And the aim of the program was to develop energy leaders for the continent, even as the continent seeks to move from more of a fossil-dependent continent to a renewable-dependent continent. And through all this, a couple of things happened. And within this program, I think one of the things as participants is you expect to go through some online course from Florence School of Regulation, and the course is called Regulations for Universal Energy Access, which we all did, and I advise everyone else here to take some time and look at it. What it does is it introduces to the power sector, right from generation through distribution, and even to the regulations aspect of it. And this is where, and I would say, however new you are to the sector, this will be something you might want to consider to look at and get involved in. I completed this course quite well and successfully. And again, I participated in the Initiate Africa Challenge. This was in Cape Town, where we came up with the Kijiji solution. But again, we went ahead to participate in the Efficiency for Access Design Challenge, which we won the bronze medal for me. And this was brilliant, this was great. And I would say out of all these, I've had a chance to work with SNV in Netherlands, but in Kenya. And currently working with GIZ, like I mentioned. And yeah, Sean, that's more of it of my journey from how I started to where I am. And I'll mention or tell everyone else on the team, some of the things I've learned even through this journey is, and this will be the key lessons which someone takes away from here, that even as you grow through this sector, there's need for, you might want to consider getting a mentor. You might want someone to mentor you as you grow. Like I mentioned earlier, I switched my career from oil and gas and was able to settle in the off-grid sector thanks to different people who helped me. And I would mention some people like Professor Da Silva from Strathmore University through the Africa Power Program, and later through Florence School of Regulations, which helped me also settle in quite well. And also maybe to mention that there are lots of platforms out here that can support the students, even as they settle into their careers. And I will still go back to the Open Africa Power Program. There's Efficiency for Access Design Challenge, which is the reason why we're here today. These are actually platforms that you need to grow some of the ideas you might have. Some of you will end up going into employment. Some would want to set up their own farms, come up with their own ideas and grow them into projects that can sell into the market. You might want to leverage on some of these platforms to help you do some of the things you want to do. And then one key thing I'll mention is I'll advise everyone here, be open to things like internships, field research programs. When I came back after my master's program, I had an internship on some project targeting West Africa. Actually, it was the regional off-grid electrification project for the off-grid solar market. So we were trying to assess the potential for solar market for West Africa and probably design a facility. This was funded by the World Bank. I got an internship opportunity on this, and I promise you, this is what propelled me together with the skills acquired from Province School of Regulation and a couple of programs I'd gone through. This really helped me understand the sector even more. And so I would advise everyone here, please take some time. If you see these internships, these programs, take some time to think through them and even be a part of them. One question that Sean asked us earlier at some point was, if I was to say something essential to anyone at this point in your career, I would say this: if I was entering the job market, like most guys on this call, I would actually purpose to be a little bit more flexible. And I would say this because the off-grid sector has lots of opportunities. Beyond the traditional engineering. Most of us imagine that the off-grid sector is more of an engineering only field. But I would like to let others know there's a social aspect to this field, there's an economics aspect to this field, there's an environmental aspect to this field that requires each one of us to venture in. And not that the skills you have as an engineer should not limit you, should be a starting point for you to build your career. Build on them for now and see what other things that come out of your career. Sean, I think that's what I would say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Fredrick. Thank you. That was really great. Now we'll hear from Nidhi Pant. You can take it away now.
Hello, everyone. Really nice to meet you, all of you virtually. I know we cannot connect one-on-one, but thanks for joining in today, and thanks Sean and team for giving this opportunity. You all are really budding experts in different parts of this sector and working on different things. So I would definitely take you through my journey. First, just to give you some background, I studied chemical engineering in Mumbai, and it was during my college time that I co-founded S4S, which stands for Science for Society, which with its primary objective of providing scientific solutions to rural areas. And now we have evolved. What we do is that we solve the three major challenges. So one is the uh, food wastage and food losses that happen in the food agriculture and food supply chain. And second is that the farmers don't get the right price for their produce. So this being two major focus that our organization is trying to solve. And we do this by a very important decentralized solution, which is a solar dehydration, solar drying. So our solution is based, our organization has three major pillars. First is that everything has to be decentralized and should use renewable energy. Second is that we need to provide financing options for these solutions to make it more viable for the end consumer to use it. And third is to find market. Where is the money in the economy that we as an entrepreneur should frame the model, or through some way or the other. Like when we initially started, we started by selling these dehydrators to the farmers, but soon realized that that is not where the market potential lies. And so we pivoted, and now it's an end-to-end model where we deploy this technology and buy back the food. We never envisaged that we would be a food dehydration, would convert into a decentralized food manufacturing company, but uh, from selling equipment to actually selling the food from the equipment, we have traveled the entire journey because we realized that as more and more solutions, as technologists, we were very glued to our solution. We were very loved what we were doing and it was working really well. But at the same time, we also have to realize that there needs to be an economic way in which we captured this. So, who's going to pay for the food that's prevented in the entire supply chain? What would be the business model? So, now what we do is that we set up these systems. We buy the back the food from the system, which is now converted into non-perishable, and we have found like a big food and global food and beverage market that we serve. These food products we serve as food ingredients to major packaged food companies like Nestle, Indian Railways, uh, Sodexo, Unilever, a couple of them, and also to small hotel restaurant catering industry. So some of the points that I would really like to highlight that were my learnings, and I hope that you guys being enthusiastic in the sector could be a bit aware of is that as technologists or as economists, you are really glued to one part of what you do. I would really urge you to explore, widen your um, widen your thought process, widen your learnings, and also if you're a technologist, it's also good to have understanding of economics. How will this work? Have some understanding of how things work actually at the ground level, and it is not only like a technical know-how. If you are a business model or you are more inclined towards business, then please do go back and see that what parts of the supply chain is important where and how does it impact the customer. So, and the customer should be at the center of it. If you're as much as the purpose and the objective is clear that we all are here climate activists, but at the same time we need to be very mindful that we need to have patience for all of this to be executed. It is not going to be like your digital economy. It's a real economy. Things are actually happening at the ground level. So it's important to widen that horizon first, and second is also to get a lot of on ground experience. So I would urge you that apart from doing your proper course curriculums, also spend some time on the ground to see what actually is happening and what solution actually works. We, when we're designing models, when we are designing the tech, we really think that okay, this is this like on paper, we can make everything work. We can make that the efficiency is highest, and we can do those modeling. But it's important to see and what are the challenges at the ground level. We see multiple we work with these women who are there are a lot of socio-economical challenges that actually are around the business model, where sometimes the technology is really great, but your end user is not evolved yet to adapt it. So you'll have to change it or model it based on what is the requirement of that. Sometimes we over engineer the entire process. That's also not required. So as much as you would want to be very close to the customer, look at other avenues in the entire um, I'm saying more from a company building perspective, but not all have to be entrepreneurs. But whatever you are doing, even if you're doing some research, be open to other parallel avenues that you should at least have some understanding of in terms of feasibility. So feasibility is important. Third thing that I would urge is to study what are the existing models that have worked. So paper go works really well. What are the other new financing models that actually work with the technology also in place whenever if you are a tech student. But just evaluating some of these things that have already been done and how that can be leveraged for you to create some, not necessarily it is required that always you create something new. You could just change some part of it and leverage whatever are the existing solutions. And because the end objective of the entire sector is to move everything forward collectively. So a lot of times there are so many solutions, different solutions. It's just important to also look at it from a very not very biased point of view, but be very open and adapting, adopting, and collaborate as much as possible in the sector, and see why things have not worked in the past, so that you can learn from them and not repeat the same kind of mistakes. third thing that I would really like to say is that there are so many platforms like efficiency for access. There are so many ecosystem builders these days. There are 5 to 7 years back, some of these opportunities were a little difficult to find, but now all of this is present. So starting from your internships, collaboration, research papers, be very open in adopting new skill sets and work as much as possible from the ecosystem players as well, work with them as well, because they give you a very holistic picture of the sector as much. And so there are three things: work in the ground with the customers, work with the ecosystem builders, because they would give you a high level things about what's working, what's not working. So having some of those experiences is also really helpful. And third definitely is to form your own perspective about what is this that you would like to change or you would like to contribute towards. So be very vocal about that. Write blogs. Writing is, I think, a very, underrated skill set. It's important for people to know what is your take about everything. That will help your career also to move forward. So find opportunities where you can present your work. This is a great platform, and is really structured really well and gives you so many resources, gives you access to uh, both entrepreneurs, real life challenges, and having that thesis in mind, you have a very bright future. Now you can actually take multiple routes. You can be a VC in any fund, like in any fund. You can be, you can take a path of more of researching or like an analyst in say GIZ or USA, and you have multiple career options. But few foundational things need to be really same for everything. Is what I would say is that initial part of your career, it's important to have that hunger of learning. So learn as much as you want from different avenues, both from ground and also from people who are evaluating case and making the case studies. So you get a 360-degree perspective, and never be shy of reaching out and bug people and tell them if you don't understand anything. So be very shameless in asking, and that's the most powerful thing that I and I'm sure like most of you know it, but just to reiterate in the end that if you are not if you're not very shameless, you're not learning. So be open to be wrong, or be open to be challenged, and have a proper peer-to-peer sessions where you are challenged by others and learn in the process, and learn by from entrepreneurs, from ecosystem builders, from VCs, from these kind of challenges, from internet, everywhere. So be open for learning and adapt yourself as much as you can. So this is what I would like to like to say to all of you.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you. I'm sure many people will have lots of questions for you at the end. And finally, let's hear from Shehryar. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Sean. Do you mind? I might have to run the slides in the background while I'm talking. So,
sure.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Shehryar from Harness Energy in Pakistan. We are sellers of solar lanterns and solar home systems in rural areas primarily. And like Sean pointed out, we are sort of in the middle of the value chain in between manufacturers and last mile lenders. We provide the products and we provide warranty, after sales services, and stuff like that. And I'm going to actually give some generic advice that I have career wise, and then move on to our story at the end. So actually, Sean, do you mind? Because can you share the screen if it's possible?
Can you see the screen right now? Can you see them?
Yeah, got it. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So
just tell me when you want me to change the slides.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's not an easy thing to enter the job market, especially those of you who directly jumped from your college degree to your master's degree and did not have any job experience in between. And especially after last year, getting into this tough job market is not an easy thing. But of course, it's good to get prepared early on. So I guess the career choice you make, the kind of job you want, the kind of company you want to work in, depends on a bunch of factors. There's no one thing. I mean, even for, let's say, the batch, like your class batch that you are with, so you might have 10 students in your class, and you might be studying the same curriculum. You might want to go into the same industry, but then the sort of trajectory you're coming from, what you studied in childhood, the kind of family you have. So there's a bunch of factors, a lot of variables that do eventually decide where you go. And your principles, your what kind of values you have. Let's say for me, rural electrification was super important, and I wanted to put some of my time into that. And all these factors, these sort of if I want to call it the multivariate regression of where you want to turn up in your career, will be different for everyone. And my advice on this is, do not try to replicate anyone's career path. Not at all. It's easy because in this day of clickbait media, you always have these articles, how did Elon Musk become a billionaire? What kind of books this guy reads? And of course, it's nice to have a good sound advice, learn from their habits and learn from their work ethic. But you cannot follow anyone's paths at all, because there's too many sort of how to call them, degrees of freedom that are different for every single person. So the main thing is to make sure you have the work ethic, you put in the effort. And of course, as we will see, each one of you will have to decide which sort of industry you go in, whether that is the long-term sort of preference for you. So yeah, and if we can move on to the next slide, Sean. Secondly, there's an important consideration these days, because a lot of sort of coverage is given to new startups and entrepreneurs, which is very good. New ideas, innovation should always be encouraged. But I would still say weigh your options very pragmatically and rationally. You have to figure out whether whether you are more suited towards working for someone, working in a company, having a job, or taking 3 to 4 years of risk in immediately when you graduate from college or university, whether you want to start your own business. And there are some factors over there that I observed that are critical, that would help you make sort of a better decision. First, if you are someone who prefers stable income, then entrepreneurship is not the way to go, because I generally like to compare this stable income versus risky long-term payoff in terms of sort of like a farmer versus day wages sort of comparison. Because a farmer, when they're sowing their crop, they put in all the seeds, fertilizer and everything, but they sort of get their income after 4 to 5 months when the crop is harvested. But a day laborer, a construction worker, they get paid off immediately on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So you have to figure out what kind of personality you are. I mean, no, I don't think a lot of you will be going to become farmers or sort of construction workers, but sort of the personality mode. You have to figure out whether stable income is important for you, or whether you're willing to take the risk. And then, of course, going forward from this point, do you have the capacity or the conditions to take those risks? Let's say in a lot of times, especially in developing countries or low income countries, people are living with their families. They have this sort of burden of contributing to the monthly sort of budget and all that. So if you don't have the sort of financial capacity to take the risk, because if you're sort of making your own startup, founding your own company, you might not have any income, for that matter, for the next 2-3 years. So how will the rent, where will the rent come from? How will your sort of groceries and fuel come about? And this is especially a big problem in low income countries, because access to capital is really difficult. Anyone attending who's from East Africa, Kenya, India or Pakistan, you know that if you don't have collateral, no commercial bank will lend to you, no matter what kind of idea you have, no matter if it's the craziest idea in the world. So access to capital is very important. And in these sort of in this situation, if you're from a family where your friends and family, or let's say your father or uncle has a parent company who can put in that sort of angel equity investment, that is one of the things that could help you decide whether you want to do your own business. There's the idea of work-life balance, because one thing is for sure, I run my own company. There is no switch on off button when you're running your own business. So when you go home, even it's like 11:30 at night and you're playing with your kid, and suddenly you're thinking about, how to, send that product somewhere else in a better way. So that is obviously a bit of a stress. And obviously when you're working for someone, there is a certain amount of work-life balance. So I'm just warning you, especially the guys out there, your beard hair will start to get white earlier if you choose your own business or entrepreneurial life. And of course, generally speaking, it depends on what kind of person you are. If you are not a very risk-taking person in general, so I wouldn't suggest just jumping into the bandwagon of entrepreneurship, or I have this new idea, oh, I've got to work on it. Sometimes it's better to have a rational, thought out sort of pros and cons list, and to see where you end up. Because I have a couple of friends who, in my opinion, if they had worked for a company for the past 4 years, they would have had some savings. They would have been financially more stable and probably ahead in their career path. But they chose to just go to this incubator, this accelerator, and they sort of, I mean, they didn't waste their last 4 years, but nothing substantial, no substantial product or something big came out of that. So be sure to weigh all the options. And next slide, please, Sean. So now coming to our story, Harness Energy started in 2016. Before that, I did my master's in 2012, and I worked in the family business for about 4 years, which was also focused on the rural economy. But I sort of decided to spin this off into a separate company. So we started in 2016, and this is a picture of the solar lantern, like a small product that we started with. And we signed agreements with the microfinance institutions because we were having a lot of trouble selling this product because we didn't really have that ground reach. So we figured that microfinance institutions would have that already established network. So it'll be sort of better to ride on their coattails first rather than develop your own sales force, which takes a lot of time and resources. So over the past 4 years, what we've done is we have gradually, like Nidhi pointed out, they pivoted, their business model. So we figured out that solar lanterns were just the stepping stone. But ultimately, in countries like Pakistan, the weather is super hot. So fans are the real deal. People really need fans to sort of, whenever they buy solar, they need a fan, either a ceiling fan or a stand fan. So we pivoted 2 years ago into higher capacity solar home systems, like 80 watt, 100 watt, 150 watt solar home systems that can run fans for 15 to 18 hours a day. And we only do Verasol certified products because that gives us peace of mind. And gradually in the next 2-3 years, we ended up signing exclusive agreements with 4 sort of Verasol manufacturers for the country, for Pakistan. And one strategic decision that we took was we did not want to get into consumer financing because that's a different ballgame altogether, different business model. We didn't want to get our money stuck over there. And that too, this decision was also based on a lot of research. We studied a lot of companies in East Africa, West Africa, who were raising a lot of investment, but they were not getting returning any profit. And we figured that that was mostly because they were trying to do the entire value chain. So we figured out that we didn't want to get into consumer financing. We'll just give them, the microfinance people, a wholesale discount on our products because they're giving us access to their customers and their sort of field force. And then we'll tell them to do the financing themselves. So they will repay us back after every month or so. So our cash flow cycle is really good. And last year we were shortlisted for the Efficiency for Access cooling call. We're developing Pakistan's first brushless motor fan, a basic fan and a rechargeable model that will go with our solar home systems and as a standalone product. And at the top of this right-hand corner, we have this, I just gave you a snapshot of, there's this really big Sindh government program for the next 3 years, financed by the World Bank. And there were a lot of applicants in that, but out of the 40 odd applicants, we were one of the suppliers that were shortlisted. So overall, it's been a good journey, a tough journey, a very memorable journey. But again, I would like to reiterate, having your own business, being an entrepreneur is not an easy job. But ultimately, if you are sort of putting your eggs in the long basket, I know you all must have heard a lot about long and short trades over the past week or so. So if you're going long and if you're willing to invest your time and money for the next 3-4 years, you might have a good return, a longer term payoff. So that's pretty much all for me.
Had to find the unmute button. Thank you, Shara. That was great. So now we only have about 10 minutes for our Q&A portion. A little bit shortened, but we want to hear from everyone. So we encourage everyone to participate in this portion of the event. And you can ask questions either through the chat or by or through your voice, and either to the whole room or to individual speakers or experts. So, and ask your questions. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Fredrick. Yes. We want this. Yes, we would. Me and my fellow classmates. I'm from Makere. My name is Derek Diamachi. Good afternoon to you all. So, would like to know about the internships. Yes, of course, we want these internships, and these internships always create opportunities, and opportunities come from the opportunities inside there. So you cited something about the World Bank and projects and those internships. But as a class and me personally, we are not so well versed on these internships. I would like you to maybe advise us on how we could go or we could search on these internships, what we could target and key areas to focus on. Yeah, especially on these projects such as World Bank. Us in Uganda here, we are mainly focused on these local manufacturing companies, Coca-Cola, roofings, and all that. We never open our minds to these other opportunities outside East Africa. Yeah, maybe you could hit something on that. Thank you.
All right, okay, thanks. And I will agree with you on some specific things that most students, when they're done with their masters or bachelors, always the starting point is which factory or which company is nearby that I can easily walk into, you know, which makes sense. It made sense to me then when I just graduated. It makes a lot of sense because you want a place to start from, but which is not wrong, I would say that. The only thing we're saying is you have a chance to listen to what we're saying now. And the opportunity is, do you want to check out and see? Let me go back to my example and say, when I finished my master's, I needed to switch the sector, and I did. And the opportunity I came up with was the World Bank project. They were doing a research, and good enough, the consultant was based in Kenya. I'll tell you what I did. I don't know if you want to try it, but I honestly called the consultant and told him, I want to be a part of this, even on an internship basis. And I'm happy even if you don't pay me for that. I know that's a sacrifice most people would not want to make easily. But again, for me, I knew once I'm done with this, the skills I'll get, the experience I'll get will really help me to move into other things. And that's how I got to learn. That's how I got to learn about the sector. And for information, the course I did from Florida School of Regulations on the power sector reforms, it didn't make sense then until I got into the World Bank project, the internship. I realized all the things we're covering on the project were actually the clear things who are being taken through the course. So that's a radical decision for you to make, asking for something to do for free of charge. But again, I had to do that because I knew the value I was getting to that. And that was gladly accepted. But I would suggest this. There are a couple of projects happening in Uganda, and you might want to check out on guys like SNV Uganda, JZ Uganda. They're doing some projects. And if you really want to be a part of it to learn, you might just want to call in and say, hey, I know this project is happening. Or do you have internship opportunities? If they are there, some of them will gladly do that. And if it's okay with you, I could probably give some contacts just for internship if you're really happy to do that. But what I'm saying is, most students when graduating have huge expectations. I'll walk into this place and get this job and get that and that, which never happens. The best thing is, and like I said earlier, be as flexible as possible. If you don't get that job you want to get from the first place, what are the opportunities there? There's an internship, go for it. Efficiency for access challenge is another very crucial thing. If this comes out, you guys have an idea as a team, why not participate in it? One thing I know is it's a good platform for you to get connected to other potential donors, some of the ideas you might have. Think about them. Open Africa Power Program is something that's really happening in Africa. It's something you get to be taken through a skills training for a period of 1 or 2 weeks, get through some of very important online courses that promise you, if you paid on your own, it's very expensive. But then once you're done with that, the linkages, the networks you make out of it become very crucial. So yes, I would say this, be flexible. Check out on some of the things that are happening with these organizations. How many times you go to World Bank website, what's happening with young people, the graduates and all that. Walk into that, see what's happening. Every organization now is trying to get a platform for students to be engaged, whether on paid basis or internship basis. That would be how we should look at it. But if it's okay with you, I could just probably share a few contacts in Uganda and see what would happen if that stuff within the GIZ portfolio, they probably consider it. SNB will be the same. I can make call of friends and then tell them, hey, so and so, look for this. If it's okay with you, that's fine.
That would be great. That would be great. For me, I would want to have that opportunity.
Thanks, Sean.
Okay.
Hi, Sean. I have one question for Nidhi. The idea we're working for on this year's Efficiency for Access Design Challenge is kind of similar to what you're doing. It's in the agriculture business. So since you said that you started out with a product that you sold to the farmers for drying, and then midway somewhere around the line, you changed your business model. So my question is basically twofold. First is, since these projects can be kind of capital intensive, so how do you convince these people for whom an upfront first cost is more difficult and more daunting than rather running costs or operating expenses? And secondly, is when you decided to change your business model, like what were the obstacles? Or like, because I'm also thinking that if we go ahead with the first idea and let's say it doesn't pan out, then is there a way out, or can we salvage this idea? So these are my questions.
Sorry, Dev. Hi, congratulations for doing this amazing challenge and working on this project. Looks really exciting. You have really thought through a lot, so great work on that. My 2 cents would be that first, if your product or your service is something that is going to help farmer earn better or increase something that he's doing, which is directly that you can measure, there is a scope for which he or she will pay. Like in our systems, it increases their income, like because there's a value addition that's happening, it's get converted to non-perishable, and we can sell it at a higher price, like something that a dry onion sells at a fresh onion sells at 10 rupee per kg, a dry onion would sell at like 120 rupee per kg, because there is a big value addition that's happening. We used to see it. This is still B2B. You can still see it in B2C that it is 17x, 17 to 54 times at a higher pricing. So first, I would definitely urge you that for us, market size was really important. So a lot of big farmers were the ones who were really excited to buy our projects. They used to just have their own, they used to have like a centralized place where they used to put the dryers and get laborers to work there. So they did see a lot of their own ways of using it. But we did see that our potential, or like the market that we are trying to address, is not the large holder farmers. We decided to go with smallholder farmers for multiple reasons. That okay, there is a recurring income actually that also flows in. They are the ones who actually need it. This value addition is most relevant to a smallholder farmers, because wastage is also more happening at an is more happening at a fragmented way. So it's solving more and more problem for the user. So what I would say is that yes, it's capital intensive. There are various, either you or the farmer has to put the money for the system to work. So you can look at various financing options. Like right now, we partner with the bank, and the bank finances the machine, and we assure them an additional income. So the deductible, which is the EMI for the hardware is what the farmer pays us over a period of 5 years. So whenever we buy the food products, we deduct the EMI for the machine. So there are in this manner, neither are we putting the money and neither are the farmers putting the money. But yes, at a prototype stage, that's difficult. So if you ask me, this is really at a scale up stage where everything is working. You know that you can lend, like the farmers or the banks can lend based on cash flow projections. But in to start with, you'll have to go either with an FPO. You have to go at a more aggregated level. I am happy to put you in touch and work through some of these contacts. But you will either have to go through an FPO model. You have to have some farmers who are more forward looking for them to try the product, or sometimes just create. I don't know about your product in detail, so I cannot comment on that. But yes, there are different ways it could be figured out if you just want to test it out. Second is that what are the when you're trying to pivot, what are the challenges? One is that basic challenges that your skill set is very different. So you're trying to move from a technology company to a financing plus a market linkage plus like XYZ. So the business model is what you will have to safeguard in different ways. And okay, whether are you the right fit to do all of it? And our approach definitely has been more market driven in terms of that. If we have a proper market in place, there's a big enough market, and then you are trying to really do something, you can really see things moving there. So the pivot, the major learning was that there should be a big market, and that's why food and beverage, and that's not like that's why not anything else. We could have gone more nutraceuticals way. We could have gone a bit more on more specialty product way, but we actually mapped the market, and the same way we decided which one to then enter. And you can also do benchmarking globally. So that was one of the major learnings, that market drives things. So for these solutions to be adopted, you also need to be sustainable nationally.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Satyadip. So we're coming to the close of our Q&A session, but we had two questions during that period from Nguri Brian and Alekwamu Moses. So if we can just keep those questions really short and the answers really short, we can go through those two, and then any other questions that you have, you can bring them up in the breakout rooms. So Brian or Moses, do you want to?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Guru Brian. I'm a mechanical engineering student from Makerere University, and my question goes to Fredrick. It's quite similar to the one Derek asked, and it goes, okay, it's about how to access opportunities as, let's say, a research assistant while you're still doing your undergraduate degree. So that, especially with projects that are sort of related to the innovations you're working with. Yeah, let me cut it there. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Again, I will still respond in a similar way to like I did before. I think one of the things, and I will point to this, one thing I've seen most employers I've worked with look out is when a student or someone who's a student walks into the office and says, I'm happy to be a part of your project under whichever arrangement, while you're still a student. It always moves most employers. I've seen that happen many times. And so I always say, while you're still a student, it's very easy for you to get into some of these things because we go in on support basis. And most of the time, the things that happen is once you're done, we will always consider someone who's been with us for a while, you know. And so while you're there, it's always a good thing to start from. I think your question is, how do I identify these opportunities? And I will still say this. Are there any collaborations between your institution and other organizations within your area? So say, for example, GIZ Kenya works closely with a number of universities in which we support innovation in areas like cooking and renewable energy, whichever thing that comes up, we support some bit of innovation. Do we have such platforms? I think there's a question you might want to think through. Think through other platforms that could be there apart from just that, and then see what will be the implication if I just walk in and say, guys, do you have something for a student? Most of them will be more than willing to help you come in on a support role.
Okay. Thank you, Fredrick. Moses, just our last question, and if we can keep both the question and the answer very quick, so we can move on to the breakout rooms.
Okay, thank you, Sean. My question goes to the efficiency for access team. I've already sent a text to Jackie, so I wanted to inquire because me and my
Sorry, you cut out, Moses. Again.
team are developing a makerspace in Uganda, which is going to have equipment, prototyping and stuff like that. Part of the other challenge of the efficiency for access, university students taking part will have access to our space so that they can develop their prototypes. We want to make sure we have at least 3D printers which can aid prototypes. So I would ask whether the efficiency for access team would find it helpful also to get in touch with us, see how best we can also promote this competition, because you find that the competition is here in Uganda, but students don't have space where they can ideate their ideas from. The universities don't have resources, to be honest. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, we can keep in contact and see what how we can support you with on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And thank you especially to our panelists. That was great. And it was great to hear from you and hear all your stories. I know that some of you have to leave now. But yes, it was great to hear some success stories from coming out of this industry. So shortly we will be we'll have our 30-minute open discussion with our industry partners. You'll be going into a room that you have indicated you want to be allocated to. We don't have time to do full introductions of our experts, but you have the opportunity to formally meet them once you're in the room. So let me just go through them. In the engineering rooms, we've, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your names. I'll give my best try right now. So in the engineering rooms, we have Venkat Rajaraman from Signi Energy, Stuart Crane from Village Infrastructure Angels, Ulysses de Vagamaker from Solaris Off-Grid, Audrey Kakpohu and Julian Patron from Naji B Group, and Kimani Gichuche from Medili Solar Hubs. Then in the management rooms, we have Richard Atwell from Renewitt and Tushar Devidale from Devidale Solar Solutions. And in the science and research rooms, we have Omile Toyobo from Chai and Srivijay Gowda from Selco. So you'll be given a prompt soon, giving you the option to enter a breakout room. If you just click OK, then you'll be brought there and we'll bring you back in half an hour. If you're struggling with what to talk about, we have some key discussion points for you to bring into the session for you to get things started. But it is just, oh, sorry, Srivijay, you're in a management room. So this will be an opportunity for you to have a open discussion and you to talk about anything you like. So I'll see you in half an hour.